are you paying top of the market wages, right? There's this misconception of, in order to get better labor or like cheaper labor, I need to pay less per hour. But by doing that, you're getting less valuable people, right? And less valuable people, like B players, C players, produce a fraction of what a high performing A player will produce.
When your leads are low and your sales are slow, who you gonna call? Brushbuster. Scaling up the game.
I want to thank the sponsor of today's episode, HireBus. HireBus is founded by badass entrepreneur and friend of the show, Brandon Vaughn. And HireBus will help you hire the top 3% of applicants, whether you're looking for painters, production managers, sales reps, administrators, or whatever role you need to hire. HireBus makes it super easy by handling the entire sales cycle and just sending you the top 3% of candidates. They also have some really crazy behavioral analytical tools where you can go and see exactly the preferences of the people you're hiring. So check out the link in the description. HireBus has a special deal for listeners of the podcast. Let's get back to it.
Welcome to Brush Busters. You got Coach Gavin here, and for the first time ever, Coach Lucas. Welcome, Luke.
Thanks, Gavin.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, beautiful day here. A little bit of clouds, a little bit of rain. It's my favorite type of day.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So Lucas, you are new to the coaching team here at Painter Growth, but not new to the home service or painting industry by any means. Why don't you take like 1 to 2 minutes and just let the folks listening know who you are, what you've done, and why you chose to join the Painter Growth team.
Cool. So my name's Lucas Mangotich from Vancouver Island in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. I've been running service-based businesses for the last 11 or 12 years now, various different industries. I've ran a painting business. I've ran a commercial duct cleaning business. And most recently, I've just exited a janitorial services business. Run 7-figure service companies. I feel like I've got a lot of knowledge to share, a lot of experience under my belt, and just excited to be on board and be able to share that with people.
Yeah, for sure. Lucas and I actually go back a long ways, so I can confidently say he's a great addition to the team, and looking forward to working with you again. Lucas, it's not the first time we worked together, so stoked for that. Super quick question. So you've run service businesses, several different service businesses in slightly different industries. Are there any like super common things that are like, they're kind of like the same across those different types of businesses?
Yeah, I'd say just getting your head out of the shit. Like there's a lot of, when you're building something from the ground up, you don't know exactly what you should be doing. You don't know if you're doing the right things. There's a lot of analysis paralysis going on where you're thinking of what should you be doing, when really, if you just work and you figure out a few key things to work on, that's going to get you off the ground more than just trying to analyze everything that you could be doing and trying to pick the absolute best route. Just start doing things.
Just start taking action. Is the general thing? Doesn't matter the business, just start taking action and it will become more clear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Cool. Well, so Luke, this is your first Brush Busters episode. Do you want to take the honors and read letter number 1?
Sounds good. So
all right, bro.
Letter number 1, we have, yo, Brush Busters team. Like that. I've been pushing hard to grow, adding painters, taking on more jobs, but now I feel like I'm running on fumes. I can't tell if I'm actually making money. I have goals, but actually I've got no real plan. It's like I'm sprinting with my eyes closed. How do I scale without crashing the whole thing? Sean from Sacramento.
I mean, great questions, valid concern. And shockingly enough, believe it or not, this is how most people operate their businesses.
Absolutely.
And this is why most people who start businesses either get super burnt out and go back to running a job or having a job, or they're just perpetually tired and stressed and kind of frustrated with their situation, right? So just the fact that you've identified this and you're working on it is step number one. So that's huge. Lucas, I'm curious before I chew into this, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this is a classic example of someone who's probably new to running a business themselves. Probably a painter in the past. Wants to take on that business ownership role, wants to give themselves more freedom and more free time, and is finding that they're now more bogged down and they have more problems than they had when they were just painting, and they're trying to figure it out. So they might have goals. They might want to make $100,000 profit this year, but a goal is just a dream if there's no actual plan to work towards it. It needs to be a specific thing. It needs to be measurable. Is it achievable? Can you actually do this thing in the next year? Is it relevant to your whole idea of what you want for your family and yourself? And is there time constraints on these goals? Because if you want to make $100,000, you could absolutely make $100,000 in the next 5 years, making $20,000 a year. Is that really what you want to do? So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it in a nutshell.
Yeah, for sure. So like super specific, measurable goals. And I think you need to, so you have like your big goals, but that's not, like, to Lucas, your point, it's not the plan, right? Like even like a time bound specific goal, like, I want to make $250,000 this year in my pocket at the end of the year. Cool. That doesn't tell you how to do it. You need to reverse engineer all of that into quarterly, monthly, and weekly targets, even daily targets. Like if you have an idea of, well, if I want to, you boil it all down into daily tasks, it becomes a lot more achievable and doable, right? So if you math it all out, and I mean, this is what we do. Step number one when people come into the program was we build out a business plan, right? So there's clear weekly targets to hit. But ChatGPT can also help you with this. Or if you're proficient with spreadsheets, you can do this yourself. But like, just saying I want to make $250,000 this year, there's no action items. There's nothing to take action on. Versus, well, if every day my business pulls in 4 leads and books 2 jobs, and every week we produce $15,000 worth of work, those are just total random numbers. Don't correlate that to making $4 million. But like that's way more actionable than, well, I'm going to make $250,000, right? So if you're missing that, you absolutely are running around with your eyes closed. You're just guessing, right? It's like trying to play darts, and you got your dart in your hand, the target's over there. Someone puts a blindfold on you, spins you around 20 times, and tells you to hit the bullseye. Chances of doing that are pretty slim, right? So everything needs to be planned out. And most entrepreneurs, particularly those coming from being the technician themselves, in this case, the painter or a crew lead or project manager, a person who's used to doing everything themselves, undervalues the preparation and planning time, right? Because 1 hour of detailed planning can save you tens of thousands of dollars. It can save you just brain space and energy. It can save you hours a week because you actually know what you're supposed to be doing versus running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So everything should be planned out in detail.
Yeah, I think you can get really granular with it too when you're simplifying things. Like you were speaking of, if you want to make $250K a year, say you're making a 50% gross profit, you're looking at producing $500,000 of work. There's 52 weeks in a year. So roughly $10,000 a week is what you want to produce. Your average job size, say, is $5,000. That's 2 jobs you need to produce a week. How are you going to book 1 job a week so that you're producing, or how are you going to book both those jobs in a week so that you're producing them? And then really figuring out what you need and writing that down and just having it front of mind. Check it in the morning, check it in the evening. What do I need to do every day to make sure I'm booking those 2 jobs?
Yeah.
I think you can really simplify things and get out of the overwhelm and the craziness of how the heck am I going to book $500,000 of work if you just complete your daily tasks. And I think that's just something that's super helpful, to download your thoughts, put them on paper, and just follow that simple plan.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I mean, yeah. So like those are the metric targets and things to hit. But then when it comes to finances, if you don't know if you're making money or not, that's not good, right? You should have a really, really clear idea of where your money is going in your business, how much money is left at the end of each job, how much money is left at the end of each month after paying all your bills, right? So if you're just not great at this, as most entrepreneurs are, most people are not fantastic at managing money, tracking money, finances. Really easy ways to delegate that very quickly to a bookkeeper, and they will tell you how much money you made. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people only doing this once at the end of the year with an accountant, only to realize that they worked 60 hours a week to make $18 that year or something like that, right? Like they didn't really make any money, which is just brutal and heartbreaking, right? You want to know right away your financial situation so you can make adjustments as quickly as possible. So a bookkeeper is a really great way to get some of this off your plate. Well worth the money. It's going to cost you a couple $100 a month, typically for a smaller business. Well worth the money. It will pay itself back in dividends, literally.
Yeah. You don't need to overcomplicate it too. Like there's a few costs coming out of your business. You have your fixed costs, that's your software, your subscriptions, your insurance. You have your variable costs, your gas, your paint and supplies, that sort of thing. And you have your labor. And then what's left at the end of the day is what you're taking home. And if you can know those metrics going into each job, you can know exactly how much you're making.
Yeah, for sure. But ultimately, this is just the beginning of the journey, right? You have to educate yourself. Running a business, I mean, it's challenging, can be very, very rewarding, but there's tons to learn. And your business's growth and your income and the business's income, the only thing that's limiting it is your skill level, right? This is why, like, myself, I've run a multi-million-dollar home service business, but if someone dumped a $20 million real estate business in my lap, I'd have no clue what to do. It would crash and burn, right? Could I eventually figure it out? Probably, hopefully, but there's a massive skill gap there, right? So you need to constantly just be hungry for learning, figure out what you don't know, and find someone or something that can train that information and teach you how to do it, right? There's a lot to learn.
I think the smartest people are the people that are humble enough to ask for help.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to ask someone who does. Or did I make the right decision here? I'm going to bounce that off my mentor. Or just leveraging, people in your network. It could be anybody really. But finding somebody that's done it before that you can lean on is,
I think that's a huge valuable thing. But just to kind of wrap this one up is, just to put this into context, like Luke, you and I are friends. We have tons of our other friends, all business owners, largely all in the home service industry, right? So we had that community around us where like we're all kind of, mentors and mentees of each other in some strengths, right? And just having people around you to bounce these questions off of and help like collaboratively figure things out is way more fun than being on a little island, right? So if you don't have any of your actual friends, I think we're in an odd little world where most of our friends are entrepreneurs. If you don't have that, look into business networking groups and meet people locally, grab coffee. Most entrepreneurs and business owners are happy to help newer business owners, ask them to buy them a coffee, sit down with them, chat with them. Most people are happy to help. Don't be intimidated.
Absolutely. I second that.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's dive right into letter number 2. That was a great question though. Sean, thank you.
A lot to unpack.
Okay. Busy but broke. This is from Chris from Hamilton, Ontario, I'm assuming. What's up, coaches? This one might be basic or silly. We're slammed with work, but I'm still barely making money. I think my pricing is off, but I'm not sure of what to do to get it right. How do I fix this? Great question. There's a lot of people in this boat.
Yeah, this is a very common problem that we see. It also does link back to the previous question a little bit with, knowing where your expenses are going and what you're actually making job per job. And then breaking that down and figuring out where you should be and where you are. So you should be pulling in, 50 to 40% gross profit on every job that you're doing. If you're producing internally with the crew, you just got to break that down, figure out how many hours are going into the job, what you're paying people per hour, and where that's coming in with your with the final gross numbers of the job. So should be at what, like 38% labor and about 12% paint, I think, is the metrics that we shoot
Roughly.
for around here.
Labor will vary a little bit by market, but 36 to 40% labor, roughly. 10 to 12% paint is ideal, right? Combine those, that should be half of your job. The other half should be what's called gross profit. So the business's profit. Now, if you are painting, pay yourself. For those of you just listening on audio, I'm doing air quotes here. Pay yourself what a lead painter would make in your area, right? So you can make these calculations. So I hope that makes sense.
So you're saying if you normally don't pay yourself per job, or you don't pay yourself an hourly rate when you're working, but if you are on the job site and you produce 4 hours of work, you need to just account for that 4 hours. So say you're paying yourself.
You're an employee and you paid someone else did that work. It was actually you, but you're pretending that you are someone else. That way you have an accurate representation of how much labor is going into that job.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a common thing that's going to come up for a lot of people listening to this, because I think a lot of people are in that stage where they're still doing the painting themselves. So I think that's a really helpful tidbit for them.
Yeah. Well, I think we actually skipped a step here. Step number 1, start tracking and doing job costing. So again, this is one of the first things we start working with our clients, because we need to get an idea of how profitable their work is, right? Because there's no sense in booking $1 million of unprofitable work. It doesn't make sense. We're just chasing revenue and ego, right? So what you want to do is, on a spreadsheet, tally up by job very specifically. Lucas, I just painted your house. So there's Lucas Mangotich job. It was $10,000 pre-tax. That's the revenue. I spent $4,000 in labor, so 40%. And I also spent $11,500, or sorry, $1,150 on paint, so 11.5%. So you want to do that for every single job. The remainder is your gross profit. And your gross profit should be ideally 50%, minimum 40%. You will not grow a business making 30% gross profit or 35%. You won't. There's not enough money to reinvest. Pay yourself, pay the business's bills, pay people, grow, make investments, buy vehicles, buy equipment, marketing, right? There's just not enough money if you're only making 30%. So you need to get clarity on that number. It will fluctuate by job. Some jobs are going to be more profitable than others, but on average, you should be, or the business should be making minimum 40%, ideally 50%, somewhere in that range. Anything above 50% is world class, like super, super healthy. you got a cash cow, probably a premium brand, great reputation, then it's a matter of scaling that.
Right.
Um,
Cool. I think it's a pretty straightforward question, straightforward answer in that sense. Does it change much if he's using like a subcontractor model? Because there's two different ways that people.
Yeah, good call. So if you're a subcontractor model, you should be agreeing on a set price, not hourly, in an ideal situation. So you can just give them 40% of the job for labor. That locks in your gross profit margin, right? Super, super, super simple. I know some people do 50% of the job, and that includes materials, right? Now, if nobody's willing to take the jobs that you're offering, they're like, no, like that's ridiculous. Like I want double that. And you're kind of looking at what you quoted, like, well, that's the whole job. You might be underbidding jobs.
Yeah.
Right? So again, this is the importance of having data, right? Because there's other things that go into this. For example, if you're closing 9 out of 10 estimates, I can tell you immediately that you're not charging enough. You're leaving money on the table and doing way more jobs, way more work for probably less money. Versus if you were charging more and you were only closing 40%, 4 out of 10 jobs, but you're making twice or triple the amount of actual profit on those jobs, that's how you actually grow your business without ending up with like a hairline like myself. So yeah, I guess there's also one other thing. So like if you're curious is like where you stand in your market, this is market research.
Get a quote.
Get quotes from competitors.
Yeah.
Right. Either on your house or if you've got like a bunch of like painting stuff around your house, like a friend, family, call a bunch of competitors, get quotes, pretend you don't own a painting company. And then, get like 5 or 6 and see where you land. Ideally, you want to be on the top end of your market. Again, there's a lot that goes into that in terms of building brand awareness, professionalization, might take some time, but you do not want to be at the bottom of your market. Because that means you're going to be working with low quality customers. You're not going to be able to pay people well. So you're going to be working with low quality painters. Your life's going to be a nightmare. So you want to figure out where you already are in your market, then make adjustments based on your pricing and results.
So you want to be like the Whole Foods and not like the Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. Be the Starbucks,
Right.
not Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a couple, just to summarize that. So get quotes from competitors.
Know your job costing.
Know your job costing, track it, right? That alone could potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars this year.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's unfortunately, I'm going to say it's the boring part. I love job costing. I get super excited when we did a job because I'd scurry on home with all my receipts and, like, oh, I made $4,000 from that job.
Yeah, it's where you actually get to, conceptualize how much money you actually are or aren't making. And it's not as fun when you realize that you're not making money, but it is knowing that if you stop that early enough, it's going to fix the problem moving on throughout the rest of the year. Everyone that I've done that exercise with, even there's always a bit of hesitation towards it. Like, I know it's bad, I don't want to do it. And then when they actually do it, they're like, that was great. Like, at least I know where I'm at now. Or, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And I was stressing about this thing that I didn't really have to stress as much about. So yeah, I think it's always a positive experience.
100%. Like if you're scared of it, you got to face that, because just ignoring it is not going to make the problem go away, and it's just going to compound. Like if you for a lot of people, tracking numbers and finances is very difficult, right? It's hard, but choose your heart. Learn how to do that, or just be broke and stressed for the rest of your life, right? That is the difference between being a business owner and a painter dude that's going to paint for the rest of your life. Right. Yeah. These are fundamental skills that you need to learn. Right. And the more skilled you get with these things, the easier your life's going to be.
Yeah. You already more money, more time. You went out on your own to start a business. Just keep taking the hard steps, and your life will be a lot easier in the end.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. I think we can jump on to this next question here. So I'll read it out. So we got Rebecca from Bozeman. Fancy little town where Yellowstone was shot or based out of. Hey guys, I hire painters, but I can't seem to keep them. Every time I've found someone solid, they leave for more hours or better pay. I try to treat people well, pay fairly, and even buy lunch once in a while. That's generous, Rebecca. But nothing seems to stick. I think that I've hired like 10 people in the past 4 months. I'm wondering where I can actually retain. I'm wondering what I can do to actually retain my team. Is this the nature of the industry, or are there systems I'm missing? Appreciate what you do.
I mean, how
So,
many hours do you have? This is this is such a massive topic.
yeah.
Luke, you want to take us away here?
Yeah, I mean, if you've hired 10 people and you've kept those 10 people, it sounds like you probably have a massive business and you're doing all right. But if you've hired 10 people and none have stuck around, there is a lot that you're going to have to unpack and figure out here. Um, a few things that come to mind are, what's your onboarding process like? Are people walking into a professional company and they're like, wow, this is a great spot. I'm super happy I landed this job and I'm excited for the future here? Or are they stepping into an absolute shit show or chaos and they're just thrown onto a job site? You have a lead painter who doesn't even really realize that they're a lead painter and they're now training this new person today. And what does that training look like? How much support is there? So there's so many more things that go into a job than better pay and more hours. People are going to stick it out at a job where they feel supported. They feel like they're going to be able to hit their goals, or they're going to be able to grow within the company. So that we could get really deep on this and look at a few different things that you can focus on when you're bringing on new people to figure out why they're leaving and figure out how to keep people around.
Yeah, for sure. I love how you brought up the onboarding. This is probably a weak spot for many. Yeah, like, is it a shit show, or is it an awesome experience that's getting them bought into the business and is meticulously thought out? Like, the amount of planning to properly onboard people is actually significant, right? Of like, who are they being paired with? What do they need to be trained on? What kind of job are they being onboarded on? Right? Are you giving them like the hardest possible job day one? And it's just like super overwhelming, or like some massive commercial job that they will never see the end of, right? Like, no, you gotta set them up for success there. Then who's actually doing the training? Is it you? Is there someone who's actually qualified to train? What does that training process look like? Right? So all of these things need to be thought through and planned. Because if none of that is planned and you're just literally throwing bodies on a job site, yeah, they're going to leave because they're not set up for success, for sure. Give yourself some grace. This is the hard part about, probably the hardest part about running businesses. It's people. Leadership, recruiting itself is a $10,000 an hour activity. That's what it's worth in your business. Leadership, retainment, building a culture. These are all very, very difficult things. And this, yeah, it's the hard part. This is the wall people hit. They try a few times. They're just, but you just don't know what you're doing, right? This is a skill, right? And then they kind of just like, screw it, I'll just paint. Right? So you got to skill up and push through this. There's going to be some mistakes. That's all right. But we'll kind of summarize a few things to focus on, I think. So yeah, number one's the onboarding for sure.
Yeah, I think, like, just speaking from my own experience and my own learning, onboarding for me at the start and onboarding for me at the end looked completely different. Like, the first one was, you do a great interview, you promise all these things, your expectations are totally misaligned. Like, you set them up for so much of a disappointment because you're like, you can expect this out of me, you can expect you're going to have support and feedback. And then when it came time to actually onboard someone onto a job site, I'd show up, I'd show them what to do for 5 minutes, and then I was gone. And not realizing that person was just floundering after you leave. And the people that you're leaving them with, if you have a crew that's already going, are now just left to pick up the pieces. So it just sets such a bad dynamic for the whole job site, and just ruins the experience for everybody that's there.
Frustrating for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Including that person. That's why they're leaving, right?
Yeah.
And then you also risk the people that are still in your business. If you just keep throwing people at them without any structure, they're going to,
gone.
right? So yeah, I mean, that's a huge one. Now, I also do, in your letter here, you mentioned better pay. People are leaving for better pay, right? So I would just try and do a little bit of research there, right? Like, are you paying top of the market wages, right? There's this misconception of, in order to get better labor or like cheaper labor, I need to pay less per hour. But by doing that, you're getting less valuable people, right? And less valuable people, like B players, C players, produce a fraction of what a high performing A player will produce, right? So if you're trying to like cut costs by offering like the bare minimum wages, yeah, you're gonna miss out on great people, particularly the good people that have options. They're gonna leave, right? So you need to try and find a way to pay people above industry average in your area. Now, this is through, a base rate, bonuses, right? Incentivize the things that you want done, either a piece rate bonus, Google review bonus. Hey, I'll pay you $50 for every job site lead that you get. All you have to go is say hi to the people walking past. Like, find ways to pay people for well, and they will stick around.
Yeah, there's a few things in life where you get what you pay for.
Yes.
And yeah, quality employees are absolutely one of them.
Yeah, for sure. But ultimately, like, a lot of people will put it down to like, well, it's better pay or more hours. That tells me you might not have a really clear picture of these employees' needs, right? So if you're skilled and trained in sales, you would know, you should know that, customers have needs. In order to sell a job, you need to hit those needs. Recruiting's the same, right? You need to understand the needs of the people that are applying so you can sell to it. Recruiting is a sales process. As well as then once they're in your business, you can actually facilitate their needs and support them, right? So for example, if someone's saying, I need more hours, like, what does that actually mean? Why do you need more hours? Oh, it's because I'm super scared because my wife is pregnant and we're already super tight financially. And the first 2 weeks here, my hours have been super spotty. I don't have confidence in you as an employer to provide for my family. That's what that could mean. It's not, I just need more hours. It's, I'm scared for my family and our well-being. So I'm going to go find someone that's more stable.
Right.
Right. So just having these conversations with people as part of the onboarding process and recruiting process, actually, of like, what do you need? Right? Like, what's going to make you stick around here long term? Shouldn't be a guessing game.
So I think that actually, like, just you speaking about these onboarding interviews and figuring out what people's needs are as they're coming in, I think that Rebecca now has 10 great opportunities to figure out where she went wrong during this process. Like,
Yeah.
you have 10 people that you can do an exit interview with and just say, listen, I understand it didn't work out. I apologize. I really wanted to provide a great place for you. Sounds like I came up short. What could I have done better? And that sort of humbleness and, asking for feedback, you do it in sales, you do it with clients who don't book with you, do it with employees that don't stick around.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, it's that critical feedback that will, instead of playing the guessing game, let's find
Just
out
ask.
and probe, right? Don't
Yeah.
take the surface level answers, like probe,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need more hours. Why?
Yeah. When a client says, oh, I went with the cheaper option, it's usually just a cop out for, I didn't trust you, or, you didn't prove to me that you could do the job, so I just went with the next person. But it's an easy thing to say without hurting someone's feelings. So you need to get that information that might hurt your feelings. If I was a scatterbrained idiot and that's why you didn't want to work with me, it's good to know that.
Yeah. 100%. Right. There's also one last thing here I want to point out. So, I mean, this kind of goes into like the culture, but also just, you know, there's a saying out there, like people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses. They
Right.
quit the people they're working with, right? If someone's a painter and you hire them for a painting job, it's not a shocking revelation that they're putting paint on a wall. At least it shouldn't if you've done your job as a you know, recruiting. It's something to do with the experience or the people that they're working with, right? So first of all, look at yourself, right? Are you showing up as best as you possibly can with great energy, great intentions, positive, bring in the vibes? Or are you like an Eeyore, just sad and, you know, kind of like don't really want to be there and just doing the absolute bare minimum and complaining about the other employees in your business? And, you know, Frank didn't show up today. Like, oh gosh, yeah, Frank's just a bit of a dud. Like, I hope you don't have to work with him. You know, like you like charisma, energy, good vibes. Like, let's make these people want to be here. It's super exciting. Because like I can let me run some math. Maybe this will help. I'm not saying this is you, Rebecca. I'm just, there are people out there, right? So someone that's working 2,000 hours a year as full time at an $80 an hour charge rate will produce $160,000 a year at a 45% gross profit margin. That employee will make the business $72,000 of profit. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what will, right? So keep that in mind. Bring the vibes, because if you attract people that are positive because you're positive and use good energy and you're friendly and you're polite and respectful, those people will match that. And then you'll have a core group of those people that act the same way. And now you have a culture in your business, right? And then you'll bring in more people and they'll get assimilated into that culture of awesome people, high performers. If you have a culture of being miserable and complaining and being late and being disorganized, and then that's the culture, that core group acts like that, other people come into the business, they're going to leave. High performers will leave.
Yeah.
Right? So create that culture, good vibes, make it fun. And yeah, I mean, we could talk all day. There's a massive leadership topics, but hopefully that gives you something to kind of like, you know, some guidance on how to analyze. We can play the guessing game of what's actually going on all we want, but, you know, at this point, take some action on that. Analyze your actions, analyze the other people on your team, your process, and call those people, get more information for sure. That's a great idea, Luke.
Sweet.
So, all right, we got one more.
Let's do it.
Let's chew through. You want to fire away on this one, Luke?
Sounds good. So this one's from Marcus. It's Canadian from Edmonton. Brush Busters. I started my business 2 years ago with a friend. At first it was great, but now we're bumping heads constantly. I'm handling marketing and sales. He's in charge of production. But I feel like I'm pulling way more weight. Don't want to ruin the friendship, but I'm also feeling stuck. Any tips for handling partnership tension? Wow, what a relatable topic.
Yeah, no kidding. Context, both Lucas and I have run businesses with friends. Often not an easy thing to do, right? I would say my partnership with my business partner, Kit, who's actually also a coach and on Brush Busters, it wasn't always easy. We butted heads often. I think, Lucas, you and your business partners in the past. I mean, you've also been business partners. That's funny enough. And other people, though, right? You're going to butt heads at times. You're going to have conflict. It's not always smooth sailing. And I will point this out. This is not just friends. This is family as well. A lot of people get into business with family, and it makes these kind of dynamics a little bit more challenging for sure.
Yeah, when you're coming into a business and you already have baggage, whether it's positive baggage or negative baggage, whatever that sort of baggage is that follows you into this new relationship, it's going to affect the dynamic of that relationship. I think one of the biggest things is communication.
Yeah.
And open, honest, and constant communication with your partners and checking in. And my first thing, Marcus, is have you talked to your business partner about this?
Yeah.
Has this come up at all? Does he even realize that there is, headbutting going on? Is he aware of how you're currently feeling? These are things that you have to share with people that you're in business with. And you have to be open and upfront about your emotions. But in the end, it's a business relationship as well. So people need to pull their weight. You think all the time of the statement, it's just business, nothing personal. And you need to understand that when you're telling somebody these things, you're not doing it to hurt them. If you're saying like, hey man, you need to pick up the slack, or I feel like I'm busting my ass a lot more than you are. That's a kind thing to say to somebody, because you're going to stop the resentment that's building within yourself. You're not going to let it spiral or get bigger than it has to. It's now out in the open and it can be talked about freely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the longer you just bottle that up inside, the worse it's going to be. You're going to get more and more frustrated. Fake might also be feeling the same way, but then you're like, wow, like I feel like I'm working way harder. But then that other person might be like, well, I'm working the hardest, right? I know that was the situation in my business for a little while. And it's just like having healthy conversations, right? And again, this is not an easy thing for a lot of people, right? So it should be in person. Sit down, grab a coffee, grab a beer, and it's like, hey, I feel like we got to chat about some stuff. I'm feeling fairly frustrated right now. Here's why. How are you feeling about the relationship and the business right now? And then at that point, the conversation should flow fairly naturally. Another thing I really can't stress enough is, now this is with employees, but particularly getting to business with friends and family, this step is often overlooked, is have written agreements in place for your role and accountabilities, just like you would with an employee. If that's not set in stone and super clear, doesn't matter how good the relationship is, you'll start to wear on each other, and you're going to get frustrated because there's just misalignment in terms of expectations, right? To this day, my business partner, we're best friends at this point. I met him, I painted for him. That's how we met. And then we've run businesses together. We own property together. To this day, even though we're best friends, everything is written down in agreement. We signed off. That way, we always have that to protect the relationship. It's agreed upon. Our actions, financial outcomes, requirements, it's set in stone, right? So that way, emotions don't always get in the way. It makes navigating these conversations a little bit easier. Like, hey, man, remember we had that agreement written in place? Like, you're not living up to your side of it.
Yeah, that makes it easy. I want to say unbiased objective statement. Like, hey, it's written here. We both agreed on it. It's not getting met. What are we going to do to get back on track here?
Totally. And then hopefully out of that conversation, there's, okay, let's reset expectation. If you don't have it, that's the opportunity to write that agreement, right? Chat GPT can help you with that. Like, hey, this is what Gavin's agreed to. This is what Lucas has agreed to. Create a working agreement is what they're called, a working agreement. It'll create it in 30 seconds, right? If there's still major conflict there, like total misalignment, I see this quite often with some of the owners I work with. When there's family involved, quite often it's the parent that started the business, and then the son or the daughter is kind of taking over. And the son or the daughter is often more growth focused. They're the ones that came in, into painter growth, because they're most growth focused. So there's a conflict in terms of growth desires and coachability, like that type of thing, right? So sometimes there might be a healthy requirement for one person to exit the business long term, right? It might benefit both people. If there's just like a significant misalignment in terms of like, what are we working towards here? right? If one person's just like, I want easy street, work 20 hours a week, and the other person's, I want to grow this thing into a multi-million-dollar business that's going to set us up with generational wealth. Two massive different businesses, like totally different businesses you're trying to build.
Right.
So it might be better for you to go build your own businesses. Right. So that could be an option. I'm not saying do that, but it's not uncommon for partnerships to change, either some partners leave or some partners get added due to kind of different end goals.
Right. Yeah.
So hopefully that helps you on that one. That's our last letter. So
if you want to send in letters,
yeah,
and have them answered by us or by whoever's speaking, you can click on the link in the description of the podcast, and you can send that in. And then if you get picked, you'll get your answer in podcast more.
About a week or so, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't make any promises there. But yeah, we need more letters. Please send them. No, there's no dumb questions. Someone in one of the letters earlier said this might be a basic or silly question. Don't worry about that. If you're wondering that question, there's probably thousands of other people that have that exact same question. It's brave to ask these things and be a little bit vulnerable. So we're going to end there. Have a good rest of the day.
Sweet. Thanks for having me on my first Brush Busters episode, Gavin. That was a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing more in the future.
Yeah, congrats, man. You've I don't know what I was going to say. You've broken the ice. You're not a Brush Busters virgin anymore. So we'll be seeing you around a little bit more.
Awesome.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Take care.